Hello there, this is Cece with Going Solo, and you're listening to WGSN-DB Digital Broadcasting, and welcome to the show. Today we're going to talk about something really very serious. You all know that I've been dealing with and helping those individuals that have been traveling through relationship loss. You know, we go through a lot of difficult situations as we're traveling through that, very sad experience. But something I am seeing over and over again is the separation of the parties, separation of the family, is what seems to be causing a great deal of anxiety, really long-term effects on individuals. So what we're going to talk about today, we're going to talk about separation anxiety. Separation anxiety happens within children, but believe it or not, it happens with adults too. And we're going to talk about statistics, the symptoms, maybe some of the things that you can do to try to help you through some of these things. Maybe they're more serious and you need to get some professional help, which is absolutely okay, because that's what we do here with Going Solo. We point you in the direction that you need to go and help you to follow through on some of the needs that you have to do for yourself. So let's get right with it, because I think this is a very, very serious topic and something that I want you to be aware of. So as you're traveling through relationship loss, understand that there are different things that are going to happen within your mind, within your heart, within your soul, within your body. And I think we have to become more aware of some of those situations so that we can get the necessary help that we need, and also become more knowledgeable about what it is that's happening to us so that we can go down the right path that we need to go on. Because so often we feel that we just have to endure, and we don't have to necessarily endure what's happening with us. So let's get right with it. What is separation anxiety? And some of this I am going to be reading, so I do apologize if it sounds a little bit Donna whatever, but it's a very important topic that I think we need to really get our hands around. But separation anxiety is most commonly recognized as a juvenile disorder in which children experience signs of anxiety when separated from their primary caregiver. In most recent times, however, adults, and I think it's because of divorce, adults have become increasingly diagnosed with adult separation anxiety. Adult separation anxiety is much of the same as a disorder that is faced by children. So it's good to see that there is a parallel there. However, the primary caregiver can be a major attachment figure in the adult's life. The thing is a lot of times most often the figures that we're attached to are our spouses, our boyfriends, girlfriends, siblings, friends. Children experience this separation anxiety during their juvenile years, very often go into adult lives with anxiety. So that's something that you should also know. But also what I was reading, which I found kind of interesting, is sometimes when children also go through anxiety separation, they can move through their adult life free of anxiety because they've already experienced it when they're younger. They kind of know what that feeling is like. But if you have severe separation anxiety when you're a child and you don't necessarily understand how to deal with that, you'll carry that into adulthood. And this is something that you might be experiencing now that has carried back through when you were a child. So think about your life, think about where you're at, where you've been, and how you feel about certain things. And that will help you to better understand, did you carry this anxiety, this separation anxiety, through to your adulthood? And a lot of times those can manifest as jealousy. A spouse will say, well, they're always very jealous. They got to know where I am all the time. They got to do all of that. But maybe it's because they've actually experienced some anxiety when they were a child, and they've carried that forward into their lives. So I think that is something to really think about, because it makes me understand, I feel, a little bit about possibly how I've dealt with other people. They'll be very possessive, and I think they're very controlling. But maybe what the problem is this anxiety in which they've experienced, they're carrying that over, and so they have these insecurities. And so maybe I can look at them a little bit more with compassion and understanding versus irritation, and want to actually push them away. Maybe we can embrace them to be able to understand that maybe we need to actually help them. But I was amazed at the statistics with regards to separation anxiety. 6.6% of adult American population have experienced separation anxiety during their lifetime. 6.6%. 70%. That is, I believe, like over 20 billion people have experienced that in just adults. So we always look at that as being like a child disease or a situation, but it really isn't, because again, it's carried over into, if it's not helped, if you're not able to get the proper help and understanding when they're children, it carries over into adulthood. So that really absolutely shocked me. It is believed about 77% of adults suffering from adult separation anxiety experience their first symptoms even while they are adults. So maybe something traumatic within your life, such as a separation, divorce, that can trigger this type of separation anxiety. So you want to really look at yourself to see if you have something that is more serious, more in-depth, and get a better understanding of where you are with that. Because if you are experiencing some of these things and you think maybe you might need some help, you need to definitely get some help with it. And do not, and I really encourage you this, do not think that you can solve all of your problems by yourself, because we're not. We just can't do it. We just sometimes need help to be able to get through life. And that doesn't mean taking a pill, doesn't mean taking a drug, doesn't mean taking a drink. It means getting the professional help that you need, talking things through, learning better ways of coping skills in order to be able to get through life, because life is difficult. It is just my mom used to say sometimes life is a jungle out there, and it is a jungle out there, but it is a beautiful world. And we have to have coping skills to be able to understand ourselves, understand our surroundings, and understand the path that we want to go on. And so these are some of the things that I want you to think about as we're talking today. And after the show, I want you to think about it more in depth. Give it really some thought as to what your past has been like, where you're going now, where are you in the moment? Are you experiencing some of these anxieties, some of these maybe irrational thoughts? Are you super stressed? Are you super depressed? What are some of the things that you are feeling, so that you understand? But let's go a little bit further into this topic, because I find it very, very interesting. Before looking at the symptoms of separation anxiety into adults, let's look at kids. Let's look at some of the symptoms and disorders of children to see if maybe experiencing some of those same things. Because believe it or not, there is a parallel happening within this particular symptom here. Extreme distress with separation from your primary caregiver. Now, of course, if we're adults, we may not necessarily have a primary caregiver, but we do have primary people within our lives, people that we maybe look up to. And so often when we're going through divorce, I hear it over and over again that I've lost my best friend. And so that would be someone that would be your primary caregiver, someone that you turn to time of need. So often I'll turn to a good friend and I want to share some of my sorrows and my happiness with, and then I no longer have that person anymore. Relationship loss, no matter what it is, whether it's death or whether it's divorce, can be very traumatic within us. So, extreme duress while separated from your primary caregiver would be that. Reluctant to do anything that involves being apart from their primary caregiver. Shutting down, you're not wanting to do different things. You want to stay home. You might start drinking. You might start doing some of those things. Just staying. I went through a period of that where I just didn't want to see anybody. I didn't want to get out. I didn't want to do anything. I just stayed home, watched the Hallmark movies, which I love, and made myself very sad because, of course, the Hallmark movies are all about love and happiness, and here I am sitting here by myself. So that just made my situation worse. But that is the kind of where you're reluctant to do anything. You just sit home and just don't want to get out. You don't want to do anything. Nightmares. We often have nightmares as we're traveling through relationship loss. We often dream about our exes. We often dream about the path that we might be going on. We often dream about the fears that we have as to where we are at the moment. So nightmares would definitely be part of it. Consistent worrying, constant worrying about something that's going to happen to yourself, to your primary caregiver, to your surroundings, things like that. Being just really fearful just constant fear within your life that can become crippling and sometimes will make you stop dead in your tracks with separation anxiety. And so often we don't see a lot of these symptoms, so it is good to talk with people to see if they are seeing that. Physical complaints, what would result in a child not having to separate from their primary caregiver. For instance, in children, they'll say they have a stomach ache, they have this, they have that. Well, I think with us, we start having a lot of aches and pains. We have a lot of difficulties with sickness and things like that. I sometimes feel like your body kind of starts shutting down, because isn't it odd when you think about when you're loved, when you feel love, enlightens you, it makes you feel good. It kind of gets you through, you're like on the top of the world, right? When you have this elated feeling. But when you're going through relationship loss of any sort, death or divorce, you get very, very sad and very depressed, and you start not feeling good. You feel all the aches and pains within your body. You just feel like you can't really continue to move on in your life. And you start developing a lot of symptoms. You'll find allergies become prevalent, a lot of different things, headaches, backaches, just a lot of different things. So let's talk about what they were saying a little bit about adults, because you have some of these symptoms that the children have, but you also, adults, their separate anxiety is also a little bit different and a little bit more, because sometimes they will have some of these anxieties within them that the children have. But as adults, of course, we have more because we're bigger. We have more things that we've traveled through in our lives, and so we experience more things. But extreme fear or anxiety when asked to do things alone or separated from their attached figure. Now, that's the very same thing that we had just talked about. We do, as adults, we have extremely fears. And what happens to us with separation anxiety is we not only have that fear of the separation that happened, we'll think that it's going to always happen. We'll think that everything is going to happen. The old doom and gloom is going to happen to us. Separation anxiety can cause on that fact. Then we have the avoidance of being alone in a circumstance. Sometimes when we want to be alone all the time, when we talked about that they shut themselves off, they stay in the room, they watch Hallmark movies like I did. Then you have the reverse, where I had a girlfriend one time that she constantly went out all the time, was constantly busy, just filled her life with busyness. She was out every evening doing this, doing that, running. You thought, oh wow, she's really doing well. She's a lot of happiness in her life. She's meeting a lot of people. She's doing a lot of things. But then she couldn't keep up the pace, and she totally just blew out, basically, and had to stay home. And then what we realized is that what she was doing was masking her feelings by making herself so busy that she just jumpstart her life so quickly into a positive reaction into the world that she just was overcome later on by all of the stuff that she was doing, that all it did was just kind of sheltered her from really feeling the things that she needed to feel. So basically she still went through separation anxiety, even though she was very busy with acting with a lot of people, doing a lot of different things. You can still be busy and still be so very lonely. And that's something that I think we need to be in check. Life is about balance, creating balance for ourselves, what's good for us. And so just being constantly around people doing things, if that's really not what your life is about, just doing the extra isn't going to work for you either. Fear that the one that they are attached to will leave them or harm them in some way. And I think that's an important thing that we should talk about, because so often I have heard individuals go into another relationship because they're so lonely. They have that separation anxiety that they have to have someone in their lives. Or on the other hand, they're so fearful that their ex will hurt them, that no matter what they do, they're afraid to go out because they think they keep the doors locked. They're afraid that their ex is going to harm them because they are going through this particular separation anxiety. And these are things for you to really think about whether it's something that you are actually going through or not. No, when they were talking about children go through separation anxiety and it kind of dwindles. It starts, when they're young, like they go to school, they have a little bit of that separation anxiety, and then it ends. It'll pick back up a little bit when they go off to college. They have a little bit of the separation anxiety where they have to readjust their lives, readjust their way of thinking, and then they start get comfortable with themselves and being able to be by themselves. We go through that as adults because our kids are leaving us. We're so used to taking care of them, especially moms out there. They're so used to having that body around, that need to take care of someone. We feel that when we go through divorce. I know that. I think I felt that. So when I was reading this, I thought, wow, I really think I went through some of this a great deal, and maybe even still I touch on it a little bit, because I remember the house being so quiet. My house was always filled with noise. I had 5 kids. There's always noise everywhere. Neighbors' kids coming over, TVs blasting, everything going on. And then all of a sudden, silence. I'm in this home with no noise. I come home, there's nobody there. There's nobody to cook for. There's just nobody around. And so then I realized I had to start adjusting my life to that. And that was very, very difficult to understand that my life was on a different path. Maybe even one that I might have chosen for myself, because I was really tired of what was going on in my life. So I had to make a change, a survival change for myself. But that didn't mean that I didn't experience some sort of anxiety over my future of where I was going to be going. So I share this with you because I wonder, how about you? How are you feeling? Have you gone through some of that? Do you go through a little bit of that anxiety when you come home and you're completely by yourself? One of the hard things that I experience, and I think this is something that we really should touch on, is the anxiety that we have when we go back and forth with our children. I heard it a lot with regards to visitation. So often one party will have the child and they're raising the child, they're going to school, and they have the child all the time, and then they give the child over to the other spouse for visitation. They go through the anxiety that all of a sudden their home is quiet. They don't have, what are they going to do with themselves? They're so used to taking care of their kids. So they're experiencing that separation anxiety there. Then you have the other parent who is having to wait to their period of visitation, and they're going crazy waiting. They're used to being involved in their children's lives, and all of a sudden they're just cut off from it, especially if you have, you're on bad terms with your ex, or your ex uses the information as a bit of a power tool over you. Then you're going through all of these different anxieties because you have these fears that are in place. You're missing your children, but you're also missing moments in their lives, and that then you become very fearful of the loss of that tremendous loss. And then you have your visitation. You're all happy, you're with them, and everything is great, and then you have to give them back again. And so you repeatedly go through that separation anxiety over and over and over again. And the hurt and the pain of that is unbelievable. And because I'm like you guys, a lot of the guys experience this because a lot of the ladies, they keep their children at home, and the guys are the ones that have to go through that horrible visitation period of adjustment constantly each and every time. And I know that because I go through that myself. So that is very, very difficult. So how in the heck are we going to get through that? This is really what is very, very difficult for us. And then it was also going on saying that men versus women, the difference in that. And I just wanted to read this to you because research has found that significantly more women than men suffer from adult separation anxiety disorder. While more women than men suffer from this disorder, it has been found that more men are likely to have this first onset of separation anxiety during adulthood. It has also been found that separation anxiety, whether juvenile or adult in nature, tends to run in families. The majority of the children who experienced the disorder in childhood had one parent who suffered from the adult variation and the same disorder. I agree with that. I have seen that within families where sometimes we call it paranoia, how they are about certain things, and their behavior, their actions follow through into adulthood. adulthood, which is why it is so important that our children are looking at us and that we understand that we have to be aware of our behavior because our kids see our behavior. And even sometimes when we have to just gut it up and, fake it till we make it, sometimes we have to do that because our kids are seeing us. That's something I think is very, very important for us to understand, be able to get through. There's also, the article went on, and it's a terrific article. I will post it on my Facebook site because I think it's very, very well worth reading. There's a lot of information with regards to this. My thing is, I wanted you to be aware that there is something out there that may be bigger than you are, and that maybe you need some help with that. So let's go over some of the things that you can do to help you with the separation anxiety. One of the things, you can definitely put some joy back in your life. And we have talked about this a lot on what to do to create joy in your life. Shaking it up, doing something a little bit different. Also understanding yourself and acceptance of yourself, of what you have to go through. Often when I have to leave my son, I have to sometimes say to myself, this is something that's real and you have to go through and you have to accept this because this is the way life is. My life now is not really what I had expected it to be, but I have to accept the way it is. And so I think that anxiety is basically fear-based. And so if I can say to myself that this is the way my life is and accept my life for the way it is and use that as a building stone, as a building block for me to be able to move forward in my life, I think that is what definitely can help you move forward. So use where you're at as a building block. Understand that your journey is not written. Things will definitely increase with you. Think about the times that you're going to be with your child versus the times that you're not going to be with your child. If you're experiencing separation anxiety, think about moving forward and embracing your life, having new people come into your life. So when you're feeling that anxiety, that you feel like you've lost your best friend, there are many friends out there that are looking for a best friend. Embrace that. Become another best friend to someone else because they're looking for a best friend. So, embrace your journey. Understand that your journey is yours for the taking. And so as you're sitting on the sofa watching Hallmark movies, or sports shows, kick yourself in the butt and say, you know what? Let me get myself on the path of life. And I think that will help with the separation anxiety. The other thing is, please get help for it. Please see a professional. There are therapists out there that can help you. There is nothing wrong with seeing a therapist. Back in the day when people used to say, oh my God, they're going to a therapist, they must be crazy. That is not the case now. This world is just heavy and burdened with the things that are happening, negative things that are happening within the world. And so when you talk to a therapist, you're talking with a person that can enlighten you, someone that can move you up and move you through some of the difficulty things that you're experiencing. So it's not a negative thing for you to do. So know that you can actually get help through a therapist. Trigger, go in and trigger some of the things that you're feeling. Understand them. Go a little deeper in understanding why they're there. Is it something that was developed from your past, something from your childhood, something that you've experienced? That can open up and blossom out, and then you can understand it and be able to deal with certain things. Because sometimes it's just knowledge and acceptance of things that helps get us through. But this separation anxiety is real. It is a true, real feeling. It's a true, real, I don't want to call it like a sickness, but it is a disorder, and it can manifest and become something far more serious, where you don't want to get out of the house, you don't want to have friends, you don't want to do anything. You basically shut yourself off, and that's not what we want to see. We want to see you embrace life. We want to see you grasp it and move forward. We don't want to see you move forward into another relationship that isn't going to be successful for you. Can you imagine how difficult difficult it is, if you're experiencing difficulties now going through this relationship, can you imagine doing this again and again? Can you imagine, hurting your heart and your soul again and again? So this is what we want you to do here on Going Solo. We want you to embrace yourself. We want you to better understand yourself. We want you to be able to grasp all that you can grasp, to get the help that you need so that you can grow from within and be the person to who you want to become. That's what it's all about. So I'm going to post this on Going Solo. You can go on Facebook. It's a group, and so I want you to join it. And it's open to the public, so you can join it. I'm going to post it there. Of course, I'm on Facebook. You can reach me there personally too. I always post it on my site. And of course, through the divorce support group, I will be posting this article. If you're out there listening, those that are experiencing this, know that you're not alone. We bond together, like-minded people within our divorce support group and our transition into dating and relationship group. And we do it because we know that we are not alone in some of the difficult moments that we go through in life. It doesn't make us a bad person. It doesn't make us an in-depth person. What it makes us is someone that knows that we have to heal from within. We have to change our lives from within, and we have to move forward, and that starts from within. Here on Going Solo, I'm going to leave you today, and I love you very much. Can't wait to be with you next time, so make sure you tune in each and every week because we're right here for you, helping you with some of these difficult topics that are going to get you through to where you need to be. So this is Cece with Going Solo, signing off. You're listening to WGSN-DB. This is new for us. It's our brand new channel, and we're very excited about it. So I hope you will listen to the Going Solo channel with all of your, needs that you have as you're moving through relationship loss into the transition of dating. And I hope that this new exciting channel will empower you to live the life you want to live. See you next time. This is Cece with Going Solo. Bye for now.